played it very, very, very well indeed.
No more slices for you.
Oh, look at that for judgment.
You'll learn.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sliced, sponsored by True Linkswear. So a big day for us here. We've been podcasting for pretty much a year, Sam and I. And we've got a sponsor, which is great. But more than that, it's a sponsor we're really thrilled to be partnering with. And if you're watching on YouTube, one which comes with a recognizable face as well. Oli Wilson, it's really nice to chat to you. And we're great to be partners anyway. It's something I can always, tell my mum. She's a big golf fan. She knows who Oli Wilson is. And now he's a partner of mine. So that's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic, guys. It's great to be on, and we're looking forward to partnering with you and growing together throughout the year. You put out some fantastic content, some very detailed content from within the tour world, which is nice. So, we're a company that's founded by a tour player for serious golfers, and I feel like it fits really well with the pod. So looking forward to the year.
You've pretty much described what we hope to be our niche there, Ollie. So thank you. And that was not, we would not ask you to do that, but basically we're trying to be the podcast for professional tour golf geeks, particularly focusing on the DP World Tour. And we're going to come and sort of talk about your career very briefly and where you are at the moment with that. But Sam, we should also be really open and honest about this. We don't want any accusations of underhand dealings, but you and I will be wearing true golf shoes from now on. Have yours arrived? Do they fit? Mine are very, very comfortable. And what's really exciting for me is they're a bigger size than I usually wear, and they fit. And it's quite good for me because, I'm a small feet guy, and I feel I've never felt manlier. I put some shelves up this weekend, so the testosterone is going everywhere at the moment.
Yeah, well, mine arrived the other day, and they're beautiful things, Ollie, I have to say. And I put them on, and what you explained to us last week, obviously other people weren't privy to this, but Ollie explained the way that a lot of shoes kind of cram your toes in, and that was the thing that immediately struck me. I was like, "Wow, my feet can breathe again." So it was it's certainly a new thing. So I like them a lot. And
I've been cramming my toes in my whole life, I think, Sam. I think this is what's happened. I'm going to have to go and buy a whole new collection of trainers, which is very exciting as a shopaholic that I am. But Ollie, can you, more seriously, tell us about the brand? I mean, you mentioned, for people who've not heard of it before or not that familiar with True Linkswear, you mentioned that it was founded by a tour player, and one that I think a lot of people listening to this podcast will not only know, but be pretty fond of, Ryan Moore.
Yeah, Ryan Moore back in 2009, obviously fantastic PGA Tour golfer, was having problems with his feet, with his golf shoes, couldn't find anything comfortable, and decided to create his own golf shoe with his brother, who was he was caddying at the time. And they've turned it into a fantastic business. It's a golf shoe company first and foremost, with apparel and hats and customizations. But it's the only golf shoe out there that is actually designed for your feet, which is a ridiculous kind of statement, it sounds, but the golf shoes are designed to be foot shaped, so it just allows your feet to work correctly, puts you in an anatomically correct position. And look, I would never have saw myself getting involved with a shoe company, but after having a similar issue with feet and with my feet and my golf shoes, I didn't go off and make a golf shoe. I just found True Links, and after wearing them for maybe a week or 2 weeks, I just saw such a huge difference and such a better feeling within my feet, and I just kind of had to get involved, and obviously ended up bringing them over to the UK, and I've been wearing them for the last 8 years, and it's been fantastic. And I've seen them help so many people. We all walk a lot of miles in golf shoes, and they need to be comfortable for your feet and also perform within the golf swing, and True do that. So it's been fantastic to be part of and watch it grow and watch them help people as well.
Can you tell us, Ollie, about some of the ambassadors of the brand or some of the pros who wear True shoes?
Yeah, we've got loads, so I can't name everybody, but we have a significant presence on every major tour. Obviously, Ryan Moore, Joel Damon, Chris Kirk, a few on the PGA Tour. Jon Rahm's been wearing them all year on LIV, which has been fantastic. He came to us and nothing to do with us. He just tested our shoes, and they were so good that he's been wearing them all year. So that's been pretty cool. We've got Madeline Sagstrom, Sophia Popov, Christina Kim on LPGA, and Brandon Robson Thompson obviously had a fantastic rookie year last year on the DP World Tour, and there's lots of other guys wearing them as well. So it's growing. There's a lot of people starting to understand the benefits to them, and it's exciting to watch it grow. And I'm looking forward to this year, not just with you guys on the pod, but obviously watching it grow throughout the tours and globally too.
I'm looking forward to this extra ball speed I'm getting, Sam, because again, I'm not, Sam and I aren't great golfers, so I'm very any additional sort of benefits to the game would be great. So we're looking forward to that. In terms of what it means for our listeners as well, there'll be more information to come on that. Some discount codes, some stuff in the newsletter. If you're not signed up to the newsletter already, please do that. As well as more information on our partnership with Oli and True. There's previews of Corn Ferry Tour events and HPT events, and players to follow and things like that. One of them from a recent edition, Beef Johnson, someone we're going to talk about later. But the other thing I wanted to ask you, Oli, the logo on the shirt, before we get on to talking about where your game is at the moment and what your plans for the year are. Logo on the shirt. I gather the Dead Golfer guy.
Well, I don't think the company was founded on it back in 2009, but it's been such a great part of the business. Really, it took off. I think they used it as an activation for through the Black Fridays years ago, and it did so well. And it's just become part of the company, and now it's really well known and definitely gets people's attention. Just the skeleton golfer looks a little bit like Ben Hogan.
And so his position's good, isn't it? It's
a fantastic position. I've been trying to get in that position all my career. I'm still not there, but I'll probably be in that state when I do actually get in that position. But yeah, it's just part of the company. It looks great on our apparel and our hats. So it's kind of grown into the company and is a huge part of True now.
I'm going to interject, Ben, because you mentioned the fact that there may be some special discounts for Slice listeners, and I can confirm there is. And with the code SLICED, you can get 15% off all True apparel and shoes. So a special bonus for Slice listeners to enjoy. But yeah, Oli, I wanted to ask, just talking about your game briefly, you put an announcement out on social media about a month ago, kind of saying that you're semi-retiring. Is that fair? Is that the right word?
I guess. I mean, I never use the word retirement because I'm still playing. It's kind of part of it is forced. With my status, I lost my card last year. I tried things a little bit differently last year. Tried to play a little bit less, but I didn't play well enough when I did that. So lost my card. Still going to be playing a little bit this year, just not as much. And so whilst it's somewhat forced, it's also kind of what I want to do. I want to play a little bit less and spend a bit more time at home and explore a few different opportunities and figure things out there. But I'm still working on my game, still been playing quite a lot through the winter and looking forward to playing once the spring comes around and the weather's a bit better.
Well, I was just going to ask, I wonder how much of it was to do with, as I think you alluded to this a little bit, like the travel, when playing on the Hotel Planet Tour, obviously, which other people may not know, you're based in the States. Was that a big thing, kind of the travel to, Hotel Planet Tour events all over the globe, basically, and then being away from family and things? Or?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things that go into it. Like, obviously, basing in the US is fantastic for my family and the way of life, and being able to prepare and practice is great. But the fact that I'm basically jet lagged 12 months a year from traveling backwards and forwards, whether you're going to tournaments or coming home, it's just not a nice state to be in, and you can't perform how you want to perform, and you can't put the amount of energy in that you want to. So that's part of it. Hotel Planet is a great tour, but there's the money's not very great. You've got to play very, very well, and no matter where you play, if you play really well, it's great, and you get the juices flowing and get into contention. Unfortunately, I haven't done that last year. And when you're being away from, I've got two small kids, two young boys that I want to be around for a little bit more. Spent the last 20 years playing and traveling and being away from home. So I want to be around at home a little bit more. And it kind of all just kind of got to that point. So we'll see how this year goes. Looking forward to playing the events I'm going to play. And, hopefully they'll go well. And we'll see where we are at the end of the year. But I'm enjoying looking at different options. I would say, I'm not really getting what I want out of the game at the moment. I don't have the desire to put the amount of effort in that I have over the years. I've worked pretty hard, and it's not been easy. It's been very up and down for sure. So we'll see. But if I play well when I do play, and I get some reward back from the game, then who knows? But at the moment, we're kind of investigating a few different opportunities and tinkering away and playing a little bit more social golf.
Well, listen, Oli, thank you for joining us. We're going to let you go in a second. Later in the year, maybe we can talk about some of the stuff you did in your career, the Ryder Cup and the Dunhill Links and stuff, all that. Plenty to cover, I'm sure. But just before you go, Sam and I always do this. We put guests on the spot and we ask them if there's anyone they've played with sort of on the Hotel Planet Tour, on the DP World Tour the last sort of 18 months who you thought, wow, this kid could go a long way. I know it's a difficult question to answer, but we've got a load of players just starting their PGA Tour careers in the DP World Tour this week in the Sony Open. We've got those Hotel Planner graduates on the DP World Tour. Is there anybody you can think of, or you're going to have to come back to it later in the year?
I mean, there's a few guys. I mean, the one that springs to mind, which is already the cat's out of the bag with Rasmus Nygaard Pearson. I think he's amazing. Like, I've watched him play, and he just looks like he's got the whole package. He's young. I know he's not on Hotel Planner, but he's already progressed. Like, it's just happened so fast. He's the sort of the one that stands out. But I guess slightly, not really answering your question, but the guy that stands out to me that last year, that little mention, is James Morrison. I roomed with him all last year, and we had some very deep, interesting conversations throughout the year. Both obviously getting on a little bit, and to do what he did at the end of last year was amazing. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he plays this year with a bit less pressure on his shoulders, I think. Hopefully he has a fantastic year, but there's a lot of good up and coming guys. Too many to really call out, but yeah, I'll come back to you with a little bit more definition.
No, that's all right. You're allowed to cheer for your fellow old boys, and we'll see how James gets on this year.
No, that is a good call. I mean, James Morrison was one of the best stories of last year for me, I think. I mean, I always like, whether it's at the Justin Rose level or whether it's at the James Morrison level, when there's someone who's roughly my age winning tournaments, it always feels good, I think.
And also, like, the fact that we talked about it a lot, like his kid Finn has grown up in the tour. Like, he's been on tour for years. He's the one guy or one sort of player's kid that we've seen grow up on the range week in, week out when he's out hitting balls. Every year he comes back in the summer and he's got better and better. And everyone will watch him hit balls because he swings it so good. And so you've watched him go from like 5 years old to where he is now. And then suddenly he gets to caddy for James in the grand final. It's just like a dad's dream of being able to do that with your kids. So it was pretty special. And yeah, I assume he'll be able to caddy a little bit out there this year too.
Yeah, that made it extra special, didn't it? And yeah, cool to hear that kind of background story that this, you've been watching this kid for 10 years or so, or probably more than that on the ranges. But
yeah, and he rips it too. So it's always, I'm always asking him, so how do you shallow it like that? Like, talk me through that.
I was going to say, I'm sure he outmuscles his dad, I bet, off the tee, does he?
Yeah, well, Jimbo's
maybe
not the
quite
longest,
as good on and around the green.
Finn's probably pretty close to him now, yeah.
Good stuff.
Brilliant. Well, Oli, thanks so much for joining us, and thank you for agreeing to be partner of Sliced with True, and we're looking forward to hopefully a great partnership over hopefully many years. So
yeah, looking forward to it, guys. Thanks for having me on, and we'll be following.
Cool. Take care, Oli.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We're going to do something we've never done before, Sam, and just try and carry on seamlessly into the podcast. The big problem for me there is less so the technical side, is that, as I'm sure you and other listeners will have noticed, it takes me about 15 minutes talking to a golfer before I stop being giddy. So when we've only got 15 minutes, the giddiness doesn't go. So it's not
obvious. Then.
Oh, good. Well, I've called it out now, but
you hit it. Yeah. You hit it well. Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. No, lovely man. He's not too far away from. I know he lives in the States now, but he's a Midlands success story. And we've talked about Oli before on the podcast, haven't we? Like, his Dunhill Links wins, one of those that you really do remember. A lot of people do. So yeah, very exciting. And my shoes are genuinely really comfortable. I don't want to go outside in them because they're so beautiful to look at as well.
Well, yeah, I've got exactly the same problem, Ben. So I'm playing my first round of golf of the year on Saturday, and I don't know whether to wear them or not. So I bought the Glacier White model. I can't remember the name of the model now, but the color is Glacier White, and I don't really want to take them out onto sort of the muddy fields of wherever I'm playing. So I might have to I might have to hold on to them till the summer months, I think, or the spring at least.
Yeah, I'll be doing the same personally. But anyway, we've got a show to do, Sam.
We have.
Yeah. What does it begin with?
Yeah. Review of last week's events is, of course, where we go naturally. We'll start off very quickly with the TGL, only really because it was your team in action, Ben, the Bay GC, and they unfortunately lost to the reigning champions, Atlanta Drive 7-4. I'm presuming you didn't catch any of this, but panic station for the Bay, or are we just
no? I mean,
into the season?
Atlanta Drive. You know what? Everybody knows Atlanta Drive. To coin a Peter Uline phrase. What can you do? They're just too good at the moment. They're the Arsenal of TGL, and you can only tip your cap and say, "We'll try again next time." So yeah, onwards and upwards for the Bay from here, and whoever does play for them, I'm sure is working hard at trying to leave that result behind.
I think the Arsenal of TGL, I'm not sure if that's a fact, because that would suggest that Arsenal actually win things.
Well, come on. We didn't cover the Bournemouth Arsenal game last week, did we? But
we didn't. No, that's
maybe
fair.
The next one.
Let's not cover that. Right. Okay. So, other events. The Corn Ferry Tour is currently in action. So round one leaders, co-leaders, -10. I mean, very low scoring, really. -10 each was John Marshall Butler and Justin Suh. As I understand it, the wind is going to be getting up a bit for round two, so maybe things will taper off a little bit on the scoring front, but it's probably going to be a low-scoring event. But obviously that ends on, what is that, Tuesday? I think?
Wednesday.
No, Wednesday. Ends on Wednesday, yeah. So it's an unusual one, but yeah.
It is, yeah, and there's a mix, as you'd expect. Right now at the top of the leaderboard, you're right, the leading score sort of midway or approaching midway through round two has not progressed at the same rate. They're on 12 under at the moment, but you've got a Canadian veteran, a sort of promising college kid, a guy who's played on the DP World Tour and everywhere else, Bryson Nimmo, who's been around in the background for a long time, and a leader who's in his second year on the Corn Ferry Tour. A real sort of smorgasbord. Yes, a lot of US flags, but a smorgasbord of sort of routes to this stage. And it's a really competitive tour, isn't it? I have my qualms with it, but I thought we were going to kick off in fitting fashion with a 59, but we didn't quite. It's a par 72, thankfully. So yeah, we'll see who's on top come Wednesday. But yeah, hopefully the wind does get up, because it's a resort course where they just take it apart.
One of those courses that really requires a bit of wind, and you kind of assume it would have wind most of the time. But yeah, Australian Tour is worth a mention. It was the WebEx Player Series in Perth. Beef Johnson was right in the mix for a long time. He had a 3-shot lead actually at one point in round 3. He finished tied fourth. The winner was Connor McKinney. This is a player who's played kind of a bit of Hotel Planet Tour, a bit of Clutch Pro Tour, but so it's obviously a reasonably big win for him. Curtis Luck was in second, who's played on the Corn Ferry Tour and elsewhere. So
just saying on McKinney, he got his card at Final Stage Q School last year, so he's one of those who he's going to have to wait until Qatar or Bahrain or wherever. But he will be playing DP World Tour to some degree this year, so that's a really great start to the year. And I'll just use my one McKinney anecdote. As the name suggests, he is Scottish born. I think he moved to Perth. Was it Perth? He moved to Australia when he was about 15. So he plays under the Australian flag, but his name's Connor McKinney, and he certainly had a strong Scottish upbringing. So he calls himself a Scozzy.
He's not from Perthshire, is he? Because that would be great if he'd gone from Perthshire to Perth.
That would be lovely, wouldn't it? But I don't even know if he ended up in Perth, so I certainly don't know which county of Scotland he's from. But let's go with it.
So the main event, maybe to talk about from last week, it was the LIV Promotions event, which finished last night. Richard T. Lee, the Canadian veteran, I would say, won, and it was a pretty convincing win. In second place was Bjorn Hellgren, a Swedish player, and in third place Anthony Kim. So the three of those all earn wildcard spots into LIV for this season, and the top 10 and ties earn full exemption into the International Series events. That includes people like Lucas Bjerregaard, Jazz, Jane Motton Anand, and a few others. But yeah, just to talk about the three who got their wildcards. Richard T. Lee, I mean, he's been playing Asian Tour for quite a long time now, Korean Tour as well. He's won several times. Very solid player, and maybe a cut above many of the players in the field, but a good win for him.
Yeah, I mean, because of the system. So round one, then reset the scores. Round two, then reset the scores, and the only rounds they accumulate are rounds 3 and 4. I think he was first, second, first in the daily scoring. So had they just added up all the scores, I haven't done the numbers, but I imagine he won by about 15 shots, legitimately. So it'd certainly be a very wide margin of victory had it been a traditional 4-round format, and of course had that not affected how he played. So I think if you'd have gone via something like the Data Golf rankings, you'd have had him in the top 5 players in the field, in a weak field. So impressive from him. Bjorn Hellgren, same age, 35 years old, used to play at Florida State, was promising once, but has never quite made it onto the DP World Tour and stayed there. He won the Saudi Open in December, though, so played a lot of Asian Tour golf the last sort of 2-3 years, bit of hotel planner as well. Nordic lead, want a typical sort of anyway you can get a game profile. But good on him, obviously. And Anthony Kim, goes without saying, was the star name. He probably isn't. He's getting back towards the point where he was one of the better players as well. And I think if you're looking at this from a sort of dispassionate LIV point of view, the one thing they would have wanted last week is Anthony Kim. So they got that. If I can be frank about the other two, they will really struggle. Even Richard T. Lee is a good player, but he's going to really struggle because the top of LIV is exceptionally strong. Like, the top of LIV is a caliber of player he has seldom played against. So if he cracks the top 40 more than 2 or 3 times, I'd be surprised. Same for Hellgren, I think, will really struggle. But we saw that, we said it last week, you're still going to earn 7 figures. So for players like that financially at this point in their careers, careers which aren't going to lead to winning majors and so on and so forth, this is probably the biggest thing that's happened to them as pros.
It's a huge payday.
Yeah,
it's a huge payday. Anthony Kim, I think, warrants a mention because he came back. It was nearly 2 years ago now. Now, obviously, some people weren't particularly happy by the way he came back and was awarded a place on LIV at the expense of Laurie Cantor at the time. But this time he has legitimately earned his way back onto LIV. And actually, you look at when he came back, he was finishing last most weeks or thereabouts. And he has actually, he's clearly worked very hard and he's got his game back. He's not obviously back at the level he was when he left the PGA Tour in 2012, but he's steadily improving. He was top 5 in Saudi at the end of last year. Obviously, top 3 this week. I think there's reason to expect him to do okay this year. I could even see him picking off a win at some point if things align. You have to look at a player's ceiling, I think, and his ceiling is obviously very high. You look at what he's done. 2008 Ryder Cup. He still has the most birdies in a round at Augusta. This is yes, he's 40 years old, but when he's good, he's very good, and he can get back to a good standard.
Yeah, and I think you raised a really good point on Twitter about this, that he seems to have created this world in which he's the enemy and he's got, loads of people out to get him. I don't think that's true. And if it is true, I think some of that is self-inflicted, because some of it, he's been provocative, not quite to Phil Mickelson extremes, but he's taken a very firm position on social media about things outside of golf and has spoken to people in a way which is quite confrontational. And if you do that, you're going to make enemies, right? That's not complicated. So I think there's an element of self-fulfilling prophecy to it. I suspect he quite likes that. He's always been a brash character. When he was on the PGA Tour, you'd have said, this is a guy not afraid to make enemies, right? He's not afraid to upset people, Sergio Garcia, for instance. So I've no issue with that personally. That's just who he is. But the point is, if he's got enemies, I think it's probably because he's acted as he has. It'd be like me complaining that people tweet me occasionally with things that I don't agree, like that, tell me to shut up about football. It's like, well, I've tweeted about football. I might not like it, but I'm somewhat provocative, not Anthony Kim provocative. But anyway, a purely golfing sense, a really impressive achievement, even though this is a really weak field. And I would still probably say that despite Richard T. Lee having a much more solid bank of recent form. Of the three of them, I'd say he'll do best next year because, as you said, the ceiling's there, isn't it? He's not going to get to the ceiling, but if he gets closer to it, he can be the best of those three.
Yeah, exactly. Last thing to mention before we go on to in the news, just a little note that I wanted to make. Richard Tedder won the Turkish Amateur Championship over the weekend, and as a result of that, he earns a spot in Turkish Airlines Open. So well done to young Richard, who there's now actually going to be, I don't think we mentioned this in a previous episode, but the Hotel Planner Tour has actually got a first event in Estonia this year. So that'll be a big one for him.
Yeah, it will. Surely he's going to get an invite. I mean, if he's not in that field, something has gone badly wrong in the admin side of things. The other thing just to mention, there's some sort of tried to do a bit of digging, didn't get far, but I noted the other day, I can't remember who shared it, may have even been you, Sam, some talk of work being done on a potential Norwegian event on the DP World Tour. I've not got any further with it, but I thought it was worth mentioning. I really should have.
I'd love to see it.
I should say who had been talking about that. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. It is a no-brainer that they absolutely should be doing it, whether in the form of a specifically Norwegian event or the Scandinavian Open that travels around. From
Scandinavian Open would be maybe the best scenario. But yeah, that'll be we'll keep an eye on that. Right, in the news, there's a lot to cover, Ben. A heck of a lot to cover, actually.
There is, isn't there?
Let's start with the big news. Brooks Koepka, this is per ESPN. Brooks Koepka has applied for reinstatement of PGA Tour membership, and per Golf Digest, the final decision is going to be made by Brian Rowlap with guidance from the Future Competition Committee, which is chaired by Tiger Woods, and the Policy Board. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. We talked about this last week and previously, but yeah, how do you see this going, Ben? And was this a surprise?
No, not surprised. Not surprised at all that he's applied for the reinstatement of his PGA Tour membership. Of course, he was going to do that. We should note that he didn't appear in the field for the Dubai Desert Classic, so that field was revealed sort of between this episode and the previous one on Friday. I was not expecting him because I think that would have been leaked and we would have known about it before the field was published. But I was still I was refreshing that page and someone sent it to me actually and said, "Oh, no Brooks." So that was interesting. I think that suggests there's no immediate DP World Tour plans, because if you're not playing the Dubai Desert Classic, you're certainly not playing in Bahrain or in Kenya or in Turkey or whatever else. I don't think anyway. But for me, the interesting thing is, and I think it was Tom of Flushing It, to give him his credit, I think just before we came on, he suggested that sources have indicated to him that an official announcement could be imminent. Could be is not is it? But it could be imminent. It could be not imminent. But I would say that speed is key here, because as I think I said last week, he's going to want to know what's happening before the Masters. He's actually like not exempt for many more Masters as things stand. So he's exempt this year and next year, I believe. But he's going to want to play the Masters, and he's going to want to play somewhere before then. So that it needs resolving very, very quickly.
Can we see a Phoenix Open invite, maybe?
Sam, I tweeted it to someone last night. Phoenix Open would be the grandstand.
The logical one, wouldn't it?
Well, he's a past champion as well.
Yeah, exactly. It makes sense.
If that's involved in the various loopholes they're going to have to find, then so be it. But yeah, past champion in Phoenix, two-time past champion. What a great place for him to return that would be. It would be a PR triumph for the PGA Tour. It's a great tournament for him to return at anyway. I think there's a really good chance it happens, but we'll find out more. I think by the time we do this podcast next week,
we'll know the answer.
We'll know what he's got to do. We'll see.
In other LIV news, going the other way, we've got Thomas Detry and Elvis Smylie.
When does the season start? Yeah. It's like a month, isn't it? It's a month. Good grief.
This is per Tom Kershaw at the Times, and he says that Thomas Detry and Elvis Smylie are going to be joining LIV, so they'll be joining Cleeks and Ripper, respectively. On a personal level, it's a shame that Elvis is going, and it's like, I don't know, I feel slightly surprised, but then maybe I shouldn't be. I think this, maybe if I take a step back, for someone who is from Australia it's probably more appealing than it is to a lot of other people, right? He gets to go and, he can, I don't know if this is his plan or not, but if he wants to, he can go and live in Australia. He wouldn't be doing that if he was to be playing on the DP World Tour or indeed on the PGA Tour in the future. So maybe it's just a more comfortable place for him. Thomas Detry, a little bit of a surprise after winning in Phoenix last year, but he's presumably been offered a lot of money up front, and he's decided that that's the best thing to do for his career at this time. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, I will say that if Cleek's brand identity is to, go around sort of the high fashion circles of the world, at least sign a fellow who looks like Thomas Detry, right? Finally, this makes sense. So well done on that. I was hoping maybe I've got to make the same jokes I make on Twitter because not everybody follows me on Twitter, quite understandably. But are we going to get James Meyer DeBaco and Alain Debon for a Belgian team here? Like Blandy and Maronka on the way out, and this is Team Belgium, because that would be fantastic. But I think one important detail here that may have influenced their decisions, in fact, two. One is that Elvis Smylie was mentored by Cam Smith. He stayed with him in Florida when Smith was on the PGA Tour. He was part of his junior golf program. So I think that is bound to have played some sort of role. But two, for both him and Thomas Detry, I think their exemption status is important. So Thomas Detry only just kept his DP World Tour card at the end of last year. Now, I don't know when LIV contacted him. I imagine he's spoken to Thomas Pieters about it for a while. But had he not kept his DP World Tour card, you're then in a situation where he actually can't play apart from LIV. And although I suspect he'd have still joined, I think that would make it more complicated because you've got to then fully commit to the idea of playing a LIV-only schedule. Now, of course, he can have sponsor invites and things like that, but it's given him that safety of knowing he still has DP World Tour status for now. And I think with Elvis as well, his winner's exemption from winning the Australian Open in 2024 gives him it's almost like now or never, because he's got that security of still being able to play DP World Tour. And I imagine for both of them, they're in the field in Dubai, for instance, they'll both be looking to try and keep their status on the DP World Tour for as long as it's possible to do so. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing to say on this, every cloud has got a silver lining, Ben, and Elvis Smylie was on your team of 10 people to win this year on the DP World Tour, so I'm going to take that as a victory.
I'm still waiting to find out whether I get to replace him, but apparently not. But yes, that serves me right for being spiteful, doesn't it? This is all my fault. Who's leaving Ripper? Is it? I guess Matt Jones left, didn't
Matt Jones. So, yeah, Matt Jones, who, he wasn't that far away from getting back on LIV via the wildcard places. He was in the top 10, so he'll have international series status. But yeah, he's the one on the way out. But yeah, now in terms of people who have turned down LIV, Akshay Bhatia has been said to have rejected a lucrative offer. This is per the Golf Channel. And then, moments after, he signed as an alternate for Jupiter Links. I mean, a couple of things here. Firstly, turning down a lucrative offer. He's not come off the back of the best season, but he's obviously decided that he wants to play on the PGA Tour. But secondly, being an alternate to someone like Kevin Kisner can't sit that well.
No, it can't. Surely that's not actually going to happen in practice. There's not going to be a team where Kisner plays and Bhatia is on the bench. I mean, that would be ridiculous.
There is no bench.
Oh, okay. There's no bench. I have no idea. So here's the thing: we have to acknowledge here, right? Whether you like it or you dislike it, and this doesn't necessarily mean it applies in Bhatia's circumstances, but the PGA Tour banning players for joining LIV probably is the reason that the flow of Americans to LIV has basically stopped, and that young players in particular, and that's where the Koepka decision becomes so complicated and so interesting, is that had that decision been made today, and then in a week's time Bhatia, knowing more, is approached by LIV, maybe it's different. I think the one that it probably applies to even more, because I think Bhatia's really young, he's really, really good. He will hopefully be thinking, I'm going to be fine financially. I just want to achieve the things I dreamt of achieving. Someone like Max Greyserman, who is quite young and quite good, well, very good. but he's not yet won on the PGA Tour. Now, I think it sounds like he was really, really considering going to LIV and has probably decided not to. But if he wasn't going to get banned from the PGA Tour, I think he would have done it. And I think the ban is working in that respect. Obviously, if it stops them bringing players back, if we in a week's time are talking about how Koepka's got to be serve a suspension until next January, it won't seem like such a good idea. And I'm not even talking about the fairness of it, whether it's appropriate. But I do think at the moment it is the reason young American golfers are not flocking to LIV, or at least seem to have stopped doing so. They didn't ever flock, did they? They sort of, flowed.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Greyserman. I mean, this is per Tom of Flushing It. Apparently, it was an 8-figure offer, and you can only imagine it would have been similar for Bhatia. So, yes, large amounts of money we're talking about here. But like I mentioned last week, the timing of Koepka leaving LIV and everything, and this sort of unknown period of what's going to happen. You know, if you're someone like Bhatia or Greyserman and you've got that big offer, there's got to put a question mark in your mind of, is this the right time to be making this decision when, you know, someone like Koepka is going the other way? In terms of, you know, when we're staying on a sort of similar thread, so Pat Perez apparently has updated his Instagram bio saying reinstated the PGA Tour. So this came up on the Subpar podcast when Jon Rahm was on there. Apparently he was said to be being banned by the PGA Tour for having commentated on LIV. So he still had several months to serve of a suspension. But clearly, it sounds like that's not happening because he's turning 50 in March. He's keen to play the Champions Tour. And if we are to believe his Instagram bio, he will be playing when he turns 50.
This could be Pat Perez having a bit of fun in that Pat Perez way, couldn't it? But
possibly.
Equally, it would be pure madness if the PGA Tour don't let him play the Champions Tour. Completely stupid. So hopefully they don't make that mistake.
And that's a big Champions Tour.
My guy,
big Champions Tour fan, Ben. You're going to be watching
it. Of course,
right?
yeah. I mean, obviously, hopefully it's gone by then. But I think Rolap's going to make some sensible decisions that we can at least compute, which is a nice change.
Yeah, well, I just talked about Subpar. So Jon Rahm was on the Subpar podcast last week. He talked about various things. There were some things about the Ryder Cup and things that he heard and his playing partners heard. There were things about the DP World Tour fine situation. Not really anything concrete there, just that he doesn't know what's happening, doesn't know any more than we do. One thing that was new information, which I think is interesting, is he revealed there's going to be 10 to 11 relegation spots from LIV this year. That's a big increase from previous years. And I think he also teased that maybe more places up for grabs via the promotions series. So basically there's going to be more churn. And this is definitely an effort to satisfy the OWGR board. And, you know, I know that, you know, Scott O'Neill is hoping to have positive news soon on that front from Trevor Immelman and co. Whether or not that happens, I don't know. But this churn is, in my mind, a big improvement.
Yeah, I agree with that. My question would be, well, can Thomas Detry be relegated? He won't be, but can he be? Because the problem is the contracts. It's the only problem. Like for LIV, it's a good thing. I don't think it's necessarily said enough. It's a good thing to increase relegation because they have still got too many players who aren't really good enough. Like the players that are not adding to the product, really. I mean, every tour's got players at the bottom, players at the top. But for LIV specifically, when you're trying to grow and compete with bigger and better tours in the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour, having players, I'm afraid, like Bjorn Hellgren, with respect, is not really helping. But obviously, it's a catch-22. They need to open up avenues to qualify. But when they do that, they also need to make sure that if these guys aren't good enough, obviously if Bjorn Hellgren goes and plays great, fantastic. Well, I'd be really impressed and pleased that he's shown that he can do that. But really, LIV needs to have a system in place where, look, if you don't play well enough, if you're not good enough for the tour, you're quickly moved off it. But the question is how that applies to those who are given contracts, not the ones who come through the Asian Tour or promotions. And if you up the relegation spots, it's only going to expose that because you're going to have guys finishing there who are under contract. And if that means they're exempt from relegation, then they're not really 11 spots. I wish they would tell us. I wish they would tell us more about that.
Yeah. Well, on to non-LIV news. Tomorrow Sports have announced they're going to be launching a women's TGL league. This is going to follow the 2026 season, so I suppose in kind of autumn time this year. Some people thought that was maybe a missed opportunity not to have more of a mixed league, but all the same, it's a positive, big positive for the women's game, and I quite look forward to seeing Charlie Hull throw a few expletives at the large screen.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as she doesn't drop a cigarette near them, that's fine. But yeah, no, it'd be good. It's great. Whatever we think about it, like I know there was some debate about the viewing figures last week, which I don't want to get into, but it's a decent sized audience to sort of get to know LPGA Tour players better. So that's great. And I think if it goes well, that probably they will look to they should have like a superstar game, shouldn't they, where the men and the women play together in a one-off thing. And I promise if they do that, I'll watch it. There you go.
Well, even if it's at like 2 a.m.
I'll record it.
Right.
I'm not series linking.
The other thing to mention, so Vijay, there was a bit of uproar about this. Vijay Singh is using a career money exemption. So he's already a lifetime member, and he would have been able to play the Sony Open anyway, but he's using a career money exemption to play this week's Sony Open. What are your thoughts on this, Ben? I feel like, I don't know, I feel like people are being a bit harsh on Vijay here, because it doesn't sound like he's planning on playing like a full PGA Tour schedule. I think he just wants to play this event. I don't know if he lives in Hawaii or he lives locally, but I think it's a special event for him. I think he just wants to play this one, and then he's going to go back to playing on the Champions Tour. And I don't think it's that big a deal personally.
No, he's doing nothing wrong. He's doing nothing wrong. And if this was, in 10 years' time, if this is Tiger Woods, no one's complaining. So I think the question is more, and worth pointing out that Doug Ferguson, a veteran of the press room in the States, works for Associated Press, pointed out that on the other exemption he has been using, he's like one spot lower, so it's not a massive difference to what he would have done anyway. The difference is that for the first time in 5 years, he's going to use it and take up a place in the Sony Open field. He did that in 2021. I think he played the Honda Classic that year, and that was it. So he's probably going to do something similar, maybe only the Sony, as you said. There's no issue. The question it raises is, should you have such a thing as lifetime membership? And I think that's a reasonable question to ask. But with most things like this, the worst time to ask it is when someone's just used it. Like, if you disagree with lifetime membership as a concept, have that discussion when it's not in the heat of, he's kept... I mean, who's he keeping out as well? Like, he's not... I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, but he's perfectly entitled to be there. Do I think you should have lifetime membership in a sport that gets very hard to play when you're his age? You can still play it. It's the beauty of golf in some respects, but to be competitive, no, probably I don't. But he's not doing anything wrong.
Well, career money exemption, which he's using, I certainly don't have any issue with that.
So that's I've got this wrong. He's using his career money this year, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a one-time exemption that any player gets. So yeah, sorry, Sam, I completely got that wrong. Yeah, but you're absolutely right to call that out. Everyone else gets to use it. He's earned it. He's a great player. Strange man, great player.
And sticking on the topic of the Sony Open, there are reports from Joel Beal in Golf Digest that the Hawaii swing may cease to exist, possibly after this year. And he cites the cost of running these events. I don't know whether that's just an excuse. I don't know, because obviously we've been talking about the fact that Brian Rowlap wants to have this sort of shortened schedule. So obviously, fits very nicely with that. So the cost of running these events, it may be a convenient excuse to shorten the season. I mean, from a personal perspective, I don't love Kapalua, but I really like YLLI. I think the Sony Open is a great event. I think it's a different type of course to what we see week in, week out. So I'll be sad if it goes.
Yeah, I'd be a bit sad. There was an element, I was thinking about this morning, like I'm really excited that PGA Tour's back. I was thinking, imagine if another month had passed and we were in mid-February. I would be like chomping at the bit that the PGA Tour is back. And I think that general sense is not unreasonable. It's not unreasonable to say that, a month off, 4 weeks off as it is now really is not enough. You could still play events in Hawaii, so I guess those things are separate, right? But I don't know. I'm still trying to find out like what it would look like, I guess, is for me. Like, I don't like the idea of doing it because of the NFL, but I'm sort of warming to the idea that a longer break somewhere might not be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens anyway. Nothing is concrete yet, but we'll find out hopefully soon.
Sorry, the one thing I should add is, like, I would buy into it if it meant we saw more of the best players in the world in September, October, and November. Like, I think that's the way you would sell it. Because, like, take, for example, this week, Jordan Spieth's not played a PGA Tour event since August. So he's had a really big break. But if you were to start the season, if the season wasn't starting until February, I imagine he would have thought about playing somewhere in September or October, right? And I know he played the Hero Challenge, but maybe that's the way you can make it work, but that would require collaboration with the DP World Tour.
Yeah, now the last thing to talk about, we have to really skip on from this, to be honest, but there are some new PGA Tour rules for 2026, including using a scorecard for lift clean in place, which I think a lot of people agree is an improvement. But we can't spend too long on this, Ben, so I'm going to skip on to the World of Golf this week. And this is important because the DP World Tour is back. It is the Dubai Invitational. It returns after its debut 2 years ago, which Tommy Fleetwood won. Rory McIlroy was runner-up. So, yeah, any comments on this and, who it might suit? I mean, looking at the leaderboard from 2 years ago, it seems like a kind of cream rises to the top sort of situation, but obviously it's only a 60-man field.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that you could look at here. One is that Rory McIlroy has won once on his seasonal return in 14 years. He did that in the Dubai Desert Classic, which is by far his favourite DP World Tour course, I would imagine, in terms of comfort level and suitability. I suppose the flip side is he really should have won this 2 years ago, and I was on him at 3-1 that week. I just thought, in a limited field that wasn't a great field, it's probably the wrong price, and he bogeyed the last, and Tommy Fleetwood birdied it for a 2-shot swing, and he lost by 1. So he should have won this, and he may well win it this week. But it's not a golf course where driver is as prevalent as it is a lot of these Middle East courses. It's a bit shorter. There's more water. The irons off the tee. I think the 17th hole last time they played here, for instance, like 350 yards on the scorecard, but they were hitting 7-iron wedge or something. They weren't driving the green. So certainly not all week. The other thing to mention, and this is, purely speculative, but if you look at that leaderboard, there is so much Le Golf National form on the leaderboard. We only have one leaderboard from this event. They've only held this event once. But there are some logical reasons why what I've just said about the 17th hole. The Golf National is a course where you play from A to B. It's very clear what you have to do, just about executing it. And you also got to be a very good iron player, which basically everybody in contention was a couple of years ago. It's obviously lower scoring. It's a bit easier, but there's water. I don't know. I think that sort of interests me a little bit. All of that will prove a waste of time when Rory and Tommy finish first and second again, which is probably what's going to happen.
What's he saying? Is Daniel Bradbury in the field? Because
he's an 80-1 shot. I mean, you'd be worried about the putter with him because it's going to be quite low scoring. But essentially, you see, he was one of those. He played perfectly well there a couple of years ago. But you've got guys like Guido. You've got I can't remember. Ewan Ferguson played well. Hughes Loughton played well. I can't remember all of them. But there are Francesco Molinari even was fifth, wasn't he? Tommy Fleetwood, obviously, he's a world-class player. But there were loads of them. It was really quite striking. And I don't know. It could just be, we've obviously had a lot of Le Golf National form, so you're bound to find some, but it was just, there was more than I expected to see, and it kind of stood out. And I think if you are looking to get those two favourites beat, there aren't going to be many angles to pursue. I think that's possibly one that you could have some fun with.
So it's a shame that we don't have last year's form from Le Golf National. Yeah. It doesn't exist. Yeah.
They're back there this year, thankfully.
Yeah, the other events to mention. So the PGA Tour makes its return to action. It's the Sony Open. I mean, it's a reasonably strong field. I mean, obviously you haven't got any real star names in there. You haven't got Scheffler and the like. But I noticed that Colin Morikawa is in the field for the first time for about 4 years. Presumably, he's coming off the back of a pretty disappointing season. So maybe he's like, you know what, I need to get out there straight away, shake off the rust.
And he's got Hawaii connections, hasn't he? So obviously he would have satisfied those by going to Kapalua before, but he couldn't this year.
Yeah, and the other thing to mention is the fact that our dual membership players, 7 out of the 10, are getting their PGA Tour careers off to a start. So the ones missing, Alex Noren, Rasmus Nygaard Peterson, who's playing in Dubai, which is an interesting choice. Possibly risky in the sense of, we know how hard it is to get, to sort of improve on your dual membership status, and you kind of need to do that. But I'm sure he's got his reasons. And Marco
I think his
Penn,
reasons are he knows he's so good.
maybe so. And the other one is Marco Penge, who was planning to play apparently, but he's had a virus over recent weeks, so he's going to be starting next week in the desert. But any comments on this one, Ben? I mean, all I'll say is this. Maybe it's similar to Dubai in many ways. You need to be a good iron player, and you look at recent winners. You look at last year's leaderboard. These are very good iron players.
Yeah, there's been one outlier edition won by the late Grayson Murray when Ben Ann was second and Keegan Brantley was third. Like in the last 20 years, it's kind of like an outlier because Ben Ann and Grayson Murray both hit a long way, obviously, and they did that week. But generally, Nick Taylor, the latest example, short courses, Pebble Beach winner, etc. Formula pretty clear, I would say. But I'm going to put you on the spot now. You must have a name for me, Sam. You must have a name for me. And if you haven't got a name for me, I want to know which of the I think you're back in Sadier or John Parry or someone. I've just got a feeling, and I want to know who that is if I've got that right.
I mean, I haven't really looked at the dual membership guys legitimately, as in this guy's going to win. I think this could suit someone like a John Parry. But if you want a winner, I'm looking at Corey Connors, Ben.
Okay.
Yeah, it's his type of course. He's got decent course history, not amazing, but yeah, I can see him, and especially he's shaken off the rust a little bit playing for Atlanta Drive. So yeah, that's my call. What about you, Ben?
We'd all love to see Corey Connors win again, wouldn't we? He's too good a player to not pick up a couple more titles, and to have the two of them at the same course as well. It just he's not Brendan Steele. He's better than that. I don't know. Hopefully this is his week. Yeah, I've not got that far on it. I remain of the view, there are a couple of players in my PGA Tour 10 to watch piece on Sporting Life that are somewhat interesting. I think Mac Meisner's turning into a really good player. I thought the market probably was onto him a little bit. I thought Bud Cauley was a big price when the betting open, but he's never played that well here. So we'll see. I'm still working on it.
Okay. And then lastly, the other events that are happening this week, the Corn Ferry Tour is the Bahamas Great Abaco Classic. So again, that's going to start on Sunday. And the last event of note, the Australian Tour, is the Vic Open at 13th Beach, which is a pretty good golf course. But yeah, we are, of course, going on to highest bidder time.
It's the highest bidder. It's the highest bidder. It's the highest bidder. It's the highest bidder.
Right, Ben, we have a submission here from a long-time listener, Oliver Inwards, and his topic is as follows. How many event and winner of that event from the 2025 season can you name? So you will need the event and the person who won it, i.e. Rory Masters. So,
both tours.
He hasn't stipulated, but I think as a DP World Tour first podcast, we should just make it DP World Tour.
15?
Wow, 15. I mean, give me half an hour, I could probably do 15. I'd probably do 16. But in, 4 minutes, I don't know. I think I'll let you do it, Ben.
Okay.
I think I'll let you do it.
Try and be
Let's
quick. So we'll just start at the start, shall we?
Okay.
I'll go all the way back and say, well, we said 2025, so I'll leave out like Mauritius and stuff. Tyrrell Hatton, the Dubai Desert Classic. Hao Tong Lee, the Qatar Masters. Alejandro Del Rey, the Ras Al Khaimah. Laurie Cantor, the Bahrain Championship. Dylan Naidu, the SA Open. Richard Mansell in Singapore. Christopher Raitan in... Pardon?
I'm going to need the name of the event.
What? The Singapore Classic.
Thank you.
Christopher Raitan in the Soudal Open. Martin Coover in the Turkish Airlines Open. I don't know the name of the one Marco Penge won in China. Is it like I don't know, so I won't say that.
I think we're on 8.
Right. Pardon?
I think we're on 8.
We're on 8, are we? Okay.
I think so.
So that was easy, that part. KLM Open, Connor Syme. Italian Open, Adrian Saddier. Indian Open, Eugenio Shakara. Scottish Open, Chris Gotterup.
3 to
I
go.
can't remember who won the BMW International Open last year, which is not like me. I should know that. Getting a bit lost now. Good. The European Masters won by Tristan Lawrence again, wasn't it? I think, yeah.
Yes, I believe so.
The Made in Denmark was Marco Penge. The BMW PGA was Alex Noren. The British Masters was Alex Noren. The Open de France was Michael Kim. The Irish Open was Rory McIlroy.
Yeah. You're there, Ben. You're there. You've done
Am
it.
I there? Good.
You've done it. You've passed with
going.
flying colours. And to be honest, that was a masterclass. I have to tip my cap for that.
It's honestly like that is the sweetest of sweet spots for me. Just name the golfers, the golfers I did not tip who won golf tournaments. Simple job. Yeah,
Excellent.
thanks, Oliver. Good man for picking a category I pretty much know you'll have known I would be good at.
Yeah, and this is a good time to say if you have any topics for us, please do send them in. I think I might have 1 or 2 in the reserve somewhere, but we could certainly use some new ones. So feel free to send them in. Feel free to make them not quite as Ben-friendly as that one. But yes, we are towards the end of our podcast now. I just wanted to say thank you to Oli Wilson for joining us at the beginning. Thank you to True Linkswear for being the first sponsor of Sliced. Please do have a look at their site. Remember, we have got a promo code there, which is 15% off with the code Sliced. Sign up to our newsletter if you're not already, because there are going to be some giveaways coming. And yeah, I think that's all there is to say. So please do join us next week for another episode of Sliced.